The introduction. The air was thick with an unsettling stillness as the small town of Ashford settled into darkness. Nestled among the dense pines of the Appalachian foothills, it was a place known for its picturesque views and close-knit community. As night fell, the soft glow of porch lights illuminated quiet streets, casting flickering shadows beneath the rustling leaves. But not all was peaceful in this seemingly idyllic setting. A sense of foreboding hung heavily in the air. On the evening of October 15th, 2019, a phone call shattered the calm. The dispatcher on duty received a frantic report about a missing person in the vicinity. Sarah McKenzie, a 28-year-old schoolteacher beloved by students and parents alike, had not returned home after her routine evening jog around the lakeside trail. Her husband, David, described how she regularly set out around dusk, often returning just as the sun dipped below the horizon. However, as the minutes turned to hours, a gnawing worry began to wrap around his heart. The forest, once a refuge, now loomed eerily beyond the path, shadows stretching and twisting into deep, dark corners. David's voice trembled as he recounted the quiet unease of those first hours, the sickening realization that this time, something felt terribly wrong. As authorities mobilized, deputies turned their flashlights toward the tangled underbrush, unaware that this investigation would unravel a chain of events that would forever alter the fabric of Ashford. The victim. Sarah McKenzie was the kind of person who lit up every room she entered. With her contagious laughter and unwavering kindness, she had earned the admiration of her students and the respect of her colleagues. A beloved second-grade teacher at Ashford Elementary, Sarah's infectious enthusiasm for learning made her an irreplaceable figure within the tight-knit community. Behind her bright smile, however, lay the complexities of a life that had not always been easy. Born and raised in Ashford, Sarah had always dreamed of making a difference in the world through education. Her passion translated into extra hours spent preparing lesson plans and organizing community events aimed at engaging families in their children's education. Those who knew her described her as selfless, often putting the needs of others before her own. Friends recalled how she enjoyed hosting gatherings at her home, bringing everyone together for potlucks that echoed with laughter and camaraderie. But beneath the charm, Sarah fought battles that few could see. She had lost her younger brother to a tragic accident several years prior, an event that left a scar on her family's heart. Though she had always managed to remain optimistic, shadows of grief lingered deep within her, reflecting a vulnerability that her radiant exterior often concealed. As the investigation into her disappearance progressed, friends and family clung to her memory, reflecting on the love she poured into every relationship. With each passing hour, the gathering storm clouds above Ashford seemed to mirror the dark uncertainty engulfing those who knew and loved Sarah. The crime scene. As dawn broke over Ashford, the chill of the early morning air settled in with an unnerving quietness. Search crews had meticulously scoured the lakeside trail overnight. But as the sun crested the horizon, there were still no signs of Sarah. The atmosphere crackled with tension as authorities made the decision to expand their search into the dense woods flanking the path. The serenity of the forest belied the urgent nature of the investigation. As officers moved cautiously through the underbrush, they called out in the hopes of hearing a familiar voice. The rustle of leaves and snapping of twigs echoed ominously, filling the silence with a sense of dread. It wasn't long before they stumbled upon the first harbinger of distress, a discarded water bottle, half buried in the fallen leaves, with Sarah's name elegantly scripted across a label. The discovery shook the searchers to their core. What had been a routine jog had now transformed into a desperate hunt for clarity in the wake of mounting fear. As they pressed deeper into the woods, the shadows grew darker, the trees looming like sentinels bearing witness to a crime yet to be unveiled. The scent of damp earth mingled with the crispness of pine, masking the vibrant colors of fall as they searched for anything out of place. Hours later, the search team's arduous journey led them to a small clearing about a mile off the trail. It was here that they found remnants of a torn piece of fabric snagged on a bramble, and scuffed leaves that hinted at a frantic scene. The evidence was stark against the natural beauty of the surroundings, painting an unsettling picture of the calamity that had touched this once innocent spot. The early investigation. In the days that followed Sarah's disappearance, the small town of Ashford found itself engulfed in fear and confusion. Authorities launched an intense investigation, canvassing the area and interviewing anyone who might have seen or heard something on that fateful evening. Tensions mounted as news spread, with anxious community members gathering at vigils, lighting candles in support of Sarah's safe return while grappling with an undercurrent of hopelessness. Lead investigator Detective Mark Harrington, a seasoned officer in his late 40s, meticulously collected evidence while nurturing a sense of urgency among his team. He had a reputation for being thorough, and now, with the stakes at an all-time high, every detail became vital. Detective Harrington understood that time was paramount. The longer Sarah remained missing, the more the hope of finding her alive dwindled. With each passing day, the investigation took shape. Officers set up dedicated lines for tips, reaching out to the public for assistance. They explored the possibility of a stranger abduction, but the close-knit nature of Ashford made this scenario feel foreign. Community members exchanged theories, desperate to make sense of what had happened. Sarah was known to have a warm rapport with her students and peers. Surely someone would come forward with a crucial clue. Alongside the efforts to gather evidence, Harrington's team scrutinized Sarah's personal life, mapping her interactions in the days leading up to her disappearance. Phone records were reviewed, social media accounts monitored, and the town's history searched for any unsolved cases that may have resurfaced. The investigation felt like a fragile web, each thread pulling the detectives closer to the truth. But as leads turned cold, the haunted looks in the eyes of Sarah's family revealed the grim reality may have been closer to unearthing a dark secret than they meant to be. The dead ends. As the weeks dragged on, hope waned, giving way to despair, as the once vibrant search for Sarah McKenzie devolved into an exhausting cycle of dead ends. The light of autumn faded, casting a cold shadow over Ashford, and the woods that had once symbolized community and safety now bore a heavy weight of mystery and fear. Detective Harrington and his team tirelessly pursued every lead, but each promising clue seemed to evaporate, leaving them with more questions than answers. A witness came forward claiming to have seen a dark green van parked near the trail on the evening of Sarah's disappearance, but could recall little else. Searching for the vehicle led investigators to a couple of unregistered vans, but none of the owners held any ties to the community. Meanwhile, strained conversations with Sarah's friends sparked no new theories. Everyone described her as someone who avoided conflict, casting doubt on the idea that she had made an enemy. Phone records produced no signs of unusual activity, and acquaintances from work did not report any red flags or alterations in her behavior. Detective Harrington felt a weight bearing down on him as he replayed the same interviews, the same questions, hearing echoes of hope fading into frantic uncertainty. It was as if a veil had fallen over the town, darkening its once joyous spirit. With the clock ticking, pressure mounted on the police department. Community members who once rallied in support began to whisper criticism, questioning the efficacy of the investigation and whether their beloved teacher was truly getting the attention she deserved. As locals exchanged hushed opinions, Detective Harrington found himself haunted by the faces of Sarah's family, whose anguish deepened with each passing day. The culmination of grief, fear, and guilt harbored a destructive potential, and Harrington knew he had to push through the darkened path or risk losing hope altogether. A break in the case, as the leaves began to fall, blanketing Ashford in a tapestry of crimson and gold. The breakthrough finally emerged from the shadows of despair. Detective Harrington sat at his cluttered desk late one evening, sifting through photographs of Sarah. Her glowing smile caught in sepia tones that now felt ghost-like against the weight of uncertainty. Just as he began to lose hope, a tip came through the station's hot linear call that would alter the trajectory of the investigation. The voice on the other end was shaky, hesitation evident. It was from a resident living near the trail who recalled something unusual one dark evening. They'd seen a woman matching Sarah's description, arguing with a man outside their window. The witness couldn't recall specifically the tone of urgency in her voice and the silhouette of a man looming over her. The call revealed that moments later, the woman was abruptly pulled into a nondescript vehicle before it sped away. Eagerly, Harrington requested the witness come in for questioning, his pulse quickening with anticipation as they discussed the encounter. He learned the intersection of the trail and a nearby road was notorious for its infrequent traffic at that hour, making the possibility of the van lingering even more viable. The detective expanded his focus to the surrounding neighborhoods, questioning residents who might have seen something out of the ordinary since the initial reports. Days turned into a frantic swarm of outreach. This time, with renewed urgency, Harrington immersed his team in canvassing the area. Questions about neighbors, suspicious vehicles, or odd noises began to yield partial leads. Then an officer spotted a green van identical to the one described, parked outside a dilapidated house on the outskirts of town. As they approached, tension soared. Hope mingled with a haunting sense of dread, knowing they were edging closer to uncovering the truth behind Sarah's disappearance. The suspect. The unsettling atmosphere hung heavy in the air as Detective Harrington stood before the weather-beaten house on the outskirts of town, eyeing the green van that had become the focal point of the investigation. As uniformed officers approached, he felt the weight of the case pressing down on him. This location, rife with suspicion, could be the gateway to the answers they desperately sought. After knocking repeatedly, the door finally creaked open, revealing a man in his mid-30s named Alex Foster. His unkempt hair and hollow eyes betrayed a nervous demeanor, and though he greeted the officers with a semblance of calm, the tension in the air was palpable. Harrington wasted no time asking about the evening Sarah went missing. Foster's responses were halting and evasive, raising red flags in their minds. In the following hours, further scrutiny revealed Foster had frequently been seen loitering near the trail, claiming to be an avid nature enthusiast. But reports showed he had no connections to the community or its schools. An unsettling history marked by run-ins with the law for petty crimes, and a troubling tendency to linger in solitude. Officers uncovered that he had been released from a mental health facility just months before Sarah's disappearance, in fact, they could no longer overlook. With mounting evidence gathered from surveillance footage showing the green van was parked near the trail during crucial hours, the detective devised a plan. Harrington's team carefully compiled a case against Foster, methodically piecing together his whereabouts and eventual behavior following Sarah's abduction. The notion that they might finally confront the person responsible for the pain inflicted upon the town ignited a flicker of determination within Harrington. Once the search warrant was issued, they returned to Foster's home, prepared for answers. The atmosphere outside crackled with anticipation and dread, with neighbors peering through their curtains, curious and apprehensive about what this pivotal moment might reveal. Unbeknownst to them, the truth could either pave the way to closure or delve deeper into the labyrinth of sorrow that had gripped Ashford for weeks. The trial. As the crisp winter air swept into Ashford, a hushed tension enveloped the town, drawing residents together in anticipation of the trial that would seek justice for Sarah McKenzie. The courthouse, a stately brick building with towering columns, stood as a monument to the community's endurance, but the air within was thick with nerves and greed. Families filed in, eyes filled with a mix of hope and despair, while the echoes of whispered conversations filled the hall. Detective Harrington took his seat among the spectators, feeling a unique sense of responsibility. He had spent countless hours building the case against Alex Foster, piecing together a narrative from the staggering volume of evidence accumulated over the months. During jury selection, Harrington observed the faces of potential jurors, some hardened by life's tragedies, others wide-eyed, yet all eager to witness the proceedings unfold. This trial felt not just like a search for justice, but a testament to Sarah's enduring legacy. When the courtroom doors swung open for the first day of testimony, the air crackled with anticipation. It was a stark contrast to the darkness inflicted upon the community. As the prosecutor painted a picture of the events leading up to Sarah's abduction, raw emotion gripped the audience. Witnesses recounted their encounters with Foster, the unsettling image of a solitary figure lurking near the trail adding weight to the prosecutor's argument. As the defense team stepped forward, their strategy became clear. They sought to cast doubt on the prosecution's timeline, attempting to humanize Foster while undermining circumstantial evidence. The battle of words intensified, and Harrington felt the hearts of many heavy with uncertainty. Days turned into weeks, and as the trial progressed, it became clear that the true burden lay not just on proving guilt, but on addressing the anguish of a community left in disarray. With every testimony, hope and anxiety intertwined, culminating in a dramatic closing argument where the prosecutor implored the jury to seek justice for a young woman whose life had been extinguished too soon, a plea that resonated deeply in the deep hearts of all present. The aftermath. As the jury filed into the courtroom, the collective breath of Ashford held the tension of a tightly coiled spring. The verdict delivered sent shockwaves through the crowd. Alex Foster was found guilty of kidnapping and manslaughter. The relief felt in the courtroom was tempered by sorrow, as guilt washed over the town, knowing the outcome could never bring Sarah back. In the weeks following the trial, Ashford grappled with the ripples of this tragedy. The once lively community activities dwindled, with parents hesitant to let their children roam free, haunted by the specter of Sarah's missing laughter. Detective Harrington watched as the families of the town struggled to find their footing amid the grief. While justice had been served in a court of law, the emotional scars would linger far longer. Sarah's memorial was held in the school gymnasium, filled with flowers and photographs, showcasing the vibrant life she had lived. Hushed conversations blended with muffled tears as friends and family gathered to honor her memory. Each story shared painted yet another layer of the woman they had lost, her dedication to teaching, her generosity, and the way she could light up a room. With time, the community slowly began to heal, though the shadow of that fateful day lingered in the minds of many. Initiatives sprang up, aimed at enhancing safety, and discussions about mental health began to permeate the town, like an essential breath of air. The tragedy prompted the school to implement programs that empowered students in conflict resolution and personal growth, teaching them not only to thrive, but to protect one another. Detective Harrington remained at the forefront of these efforts, dedicating himself to building a stronger, more connected community. With every life touched, he felt he was part of creating a bulwark against the darkness that had invaded their lives. Though Sarah was gone, her legacy of love and kindness became a catalyst for change, urging Ashford to work together to ensure that no family would endure such pain again. Reflection. Months after the trial had concluded, the embers of grief still glowed in the hearts of Ashford's residents. But time began to facilitate a hard-earned acceptance. Detective Harrington often found himself reflecting on the events that had unfolded, the fear, the hope, and ultimately, the absence of closure that so many still grappled with. He spent hours at the lakeside, where Sarah had shared her evening runs, a place that now bore the weight of both sorrow and resilience. In moments of solitude, he replayed the details of the case, considering the myriad of what-ifs that haunted the investigation. Did they miss any signs along the way? Was there something he could have done differently to bring Sarah home safe? As he contemplated the impact of loss, the detective recognized that these reflections were not just about failure, but also about the incredible strength found within a community that rallied together to support one another amid despair. Ultimately, the lessons learned through heartbreak spurred on a collective movement toward healing. Annual remembrance events were established, drawing attention to the volatile realities of violence and loss. People began to share their stories, fostering a sense of connection and understanding. In honoring Sarah's legacy, the town crafted a narrative rooted in compassion, proving that in the aftermath of tragedy, light could still find a way to pierce through the darkness, a testament to the enduring human spirit.